how do you find the right church? You think it's important for a Christian to be in a church?
I don't think it's important. The Bible does, bro. There's a spiritual and a practical side to every decision you make.
Pastor be single in a church? I would not go to a church if a pastor was single. Because I talked to a friend recently who used to go to church, stopped going to church. Okay, why don't you feel like you need to be at a church right now? And he says it's because there's a lot of stuff going on with like pastors and stuff. There's a lot of falling short.
Well, I think the best thing you could have when looking for a church is like a transparent, Bible-loving, passionate about Jesus pastor. Is it wrong for a male to go to a church because he likes it and because there's a lot of women there his age?
When you go to church, it's not like let's just leave. You gotta have some friends. You gotta have.
That's me.
You gotta have some.
Oh God.
You gotta.
The key to doing life with people in church is relationship.
It is. People are in a church, right? And sometimes they're like, maybe it's time for me to leave.
Welcome to Sharp Podcast. I am your co-host, Jay.
And I'm Frank.
And we're back.
We're back.
Yeah. New studio, too, in case you haven't noticed by this episode.
Yes.
Is this a studio or is this just where I live?
Hey, I'm going to stop
No one will
us
ever
right
know.
now. Just like, comment, and subscribe right now before you go any further.
Yes, like, comment, and subscribe.
But we've been very thankful for the support. We're growing, man. Only
we are
God.
growing.
This is all
slow and
God
steady
doing.
wins the race.
Right, it does.
You ever heard that phrase? Slow and steady wins the race. I want to see what phrases you haven't heard. Have you ever heard the phrase "the devil is beating his wife"?
No, I've never heard that one.
You never heard it?
No. What is that?
So down south, whenever there's is it lightning or thunder? I think it's both. Whenever there's lightning and thunder, because they're always hand in hand.
Together, yeah.
They say down south, they look up and they say the devil's beating his wife.
Interesting.
You never heard that?
Nah, not for that. Not for the weather. I've heard like when there's lightning, like God's taking a picture. Or when there's thunder, they say that the angels are bowling.
Oh, the angels are bowling. I don't even know how they came up with that. The angels are bowling.
And what's funny is the person who says that has got no faith in God. I'm like, where'd you come up with that?
They just come up with the darndest things. People don't believe.
Oh, shoot. Maybe another thing I hear a lot that I've never looked into too much, but I don't believe this, but when people pass away, they say they're your guardian angels.
They're your guardian angel. Yeah. Okay.
I've never seen that in the Bible.
Yeah. Never seen anybody guarding me. I used to know.
But I mean, because angels are the ministering spirits of God. So they're not made in the same image as a human.
Yo, people believe some freaky stuff today. Let's just be honest.
They do.
People be calling on their ancestors these days.
Yeah.
I'm calling on my ancestors. They believe in God. My ancestors, please help me, Grandma. What do you think I should do?
Yeah, that's
like,
crazy.
Don't pray to your grandma.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't pray to,
I don't think you should do.
No. What not to do.
Yeah, what not to do. Don't pray to grandma.
Yeah.
Just pray to God, and he's the only one who can make it better anyway. Grandma can't help you.
Maybe a lot of people get into this crazy stuff because they don't have any guidance.
No guidance.
No guidance. And maybe that can help us get into this topic that we have for today.
Yeah.
Which is, how do you find the right church? We're gonna say
right church.
The right church.
If there is a right church.
Exactly. Because it's easy to find a church.
Right.
But it's also very difficult to find the right church.
First of all, we're not saying we have a solution to this problem.
No, that's why
we're saying we're going to have a conversation about this.
I like this episode because we don't have to be right entirely. It can be opinions.
We're not trying to be wrong either. We don't have to be right.
Well, let's start off with it right. And starting off right is if you're a Christian, you need to be in a church. That's
I suggested. Highly suggested.
Yeah, I think it's very important.
Well, the Bible says, "Do not forsake the assembling together."
Yeah.
Let's read that in a more English version, shall we?
Yeah, why don't you read it for us?
Let us not neglect meeting together. I like that one.
Yeah.
Don't neglect it.
But what are you meeting together about?
Meeting
Coffee,
together
sports?
to encourage one another as the church makes a habit of.
Okay.
That's new living.
Where is it in the Bible?
That's verse Hebrews 10:25.
Okay.
Do not neglect meeting together. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the word neglect,
What do you think of?
I thought of myself right away because
Yeah.
I neglect meeting with people all the time.
Why?
I don't think I'm very social.
No, you're not. You're not. I've known you for
I
years.
think I have a social battery, but it
do.
runs out
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
quick.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm not social at all.
Like that meme I sent you,
Mm-hmm.
that was like, I believe in God Almighty. I have faith. And then there was a cat pointing, and she was like, "You don't go to church when it rains."
Yeah. Yeah, right.
That's me, dog. If it's
No.
raining a little hard, I'm
You
not
stay.
going.
But okay, so what do you think about, you think it's important for a Christian to be in a church?
I don't think it's important. The Bible does, bro. Don't
Don't
put me in the hot seat.
So we're agreeing, okay?
Yeah, I don't think it's important. The Bible does.
So what do you think is important?
Who cares what I think?
What do you think it's in? Well, I wanna see where we start to differ. So we agree there. Okay, when people are finding a church, what do you think? If we can give any advice, if we can give personal experience.
Well, I mean, I'm looking for a church right now. I mean, let's just be honest. If you're
okay, so let's use you. You're a good case.
I went to an all-white church the other day. We can be real here, right? We can be real. I went to an all-white church like a month ago.
How was it?
What
did you like? What didn't you like?
I love that they were all there for the same reasons, which was to worship, honor, Jesus, and be amongst his people.
Hey, well, that's good. You don't get that in every church. Listen, so don't be fooled.
Yes, they had a great worship service. It was clear. They're worshiping Jesus. The sermon, it was clear that they were, admiring Jesus.
Yeah.
But it was a little dry, as minorities would say. It wasn't a little spice in the food. I also felt just,
out of place.
Just a little bit. I felt like a chocolate amongst marshmallows, but that's all right. That's all right. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Important question. How did you hear about this place?
I just saw it from driving to my parents' house. Every time I drive that route, I see it.
And you went?
And I just checked it out. Yeah.
Okay. How many churches have you checked out in the last year?
Probably like 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought there would be more.
No, all right. Probably like 4.
4?
It's discouraging, if I'm honest. But I'm starting to realize that I just have to kind of pick one. I don't know. There's a spiritual. There's a spiritual and a practical side to every decision you make. Right? Like you want God to say, "I really like this church, and I wouldn't mind you going to it."
Yeah.
And you also want to be like, you also want to feel like, I feel like I could grow and learn here.
Exactly.
And feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And so you want to find a little balance. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah.
God may be telling you otherwise, but that's how I see it when looking for a church. But if the fundamentals are there, you should just check it out.
Yeah.
What are the fundamentals, Frank? You got to talk about that.
You tell me.
You're the pastor.
No, I want to hear a lot.
You're the pastor. What are the fundamentals in it that a church should have?
Well, I think the most important thing, like you said, they got to be worshiping Jesus. Jesus at the center. I think the Bible's got to be the final.
Can the pastor be single?
Can the pastor be single in a church? I would not go to a church if a pastor was single. I'm sorry. No, I mean, no. Okay, let me clarify. I think that and I want to know your stance on this, but if I was going to a church and I did not know the pastor, I would not go to the church if he was single.
Okay.
If I knew the person, like, well, as whatever well means, but like if I know them, maybe I can do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But other than that, no, they would have to be. Because there's too many problems that could happen. My fear is
it could be problematic.
Because I don't want to go off topic. We're coming right back to this.
No. I love going off topic.
Because I talked to a friend recently who used to go to church, stopped going to church. And I'm always like, not always, but we talk. And then I'm like, man, you got to come back to you find a church, or hey, come check out my church, because I go to a different one than what he's seen. And we were just talking, and I was like, okay, why don't you feel like you need to be at a church right now? Because he believes in God, but he doesn't want to. And he says it's because there's a lot of stuff going on with like pastors and stuff, a lot of scandals, a lot of falling short. Valid question. And he says, I don't feel like you. I don't know. The way he
lost
said
his
it,
validity.
And I thought that was so true, because to go to a church, you're going to be serving under a leader that hears from God. And if you don't know them, man, that's so scary to put in a sense, you're putting your trust, because when you're a part of the church, you're associated with that place.
Right.
We are the global church, right? I don't want people to talk out of context, right? We are the church. I'm the church. You're the church. But we eventually go to a place that we call the church, that is a building, but it's more than that. It's alive, right? You say the church is an organization and a living organism. You always used to say that.
I did?
You did. And
smart man.
And so you're a part of a place, though. However we want to say it, whether we like it or not, you are a part of a place. When you would go to Hillsong and there is that big fall, you were labeled, okay? Or you felt some type of, so I don't care what you say, you are a part of a place. But yeah, it's scary to think that you're going to be under someone that you got to trust is leading you. That's scary to me.
That is scary.
Because I feel capable of being led by God in my own life and in my marriage and my wife and future children when that comes. But to be like, man, I need to follow this person, I don't know, that's scary to me. Obviously, I do it. I'm a part of a church. I surrender and I serve faithfully.
He does do that.
But it is hard.
Yeah.
So go back to what you were saying regarding a pastor. Okay, would you go to a church if the pastor is single?
I don't think so.
No?
No. I'm straight.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, there's a lot to consider when you're looking for a church. You could even go down to like the minute things. I already know there's people out there that think about this. Like how does the building look?
Yeah.
Y'all having service in a Catholic church with this huge glass in the middle of the sanctuary, and these pews and gargoyles in the background and statues.
Or are
some
you
churches just look like
no,
we come here all the time,
Or are they serving coffee?
Are they serving coffee?
Yeah.
Can you dress any kind of way?
Yeah. Can you wear a hat?
Can you wear a hat?
Bro,
my hair is thinning. Can I wear a hat?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
No, that's true.
It's a whole, do they have carpet?
Can I
Some
wear
people
shorts?
don't have. Can I wear shorts? All these questions you have to answer when you go into a church.
You do.
Now, here's something I don't consider when I go to church.
What?
The politics.
Okay. Explain.
I could explain that easily. For example, some people have politicized different topics like the police. Yeah. This is a church that does not support the police.
Yeah, I know.
That would be hard for me to grasp, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys have an ideology, obviously coming from your pastors. But as long as the church is doing their best to follow the Bible, and it's like clear, there's like, it's so clear that every answer they give you, they're like, well, the Bible says this. Well, we believe this because the Bible says this. That to me is a church worth considering.
Okay, I like that, and I would agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But some people don't go to churches because they're BLM activists.
Yeah.
It's a little strange
to
have another like component of a mission. Yeah. Besides the Bible.
Yeah, that's why.
It's like, what do people consider nowadays when you go to church? It's a lot to consider.
True. That's true.
It's a lot. Some people believe all Christians should be broke.
Yeah.
Some people believe you should be rich in a year.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's so.
Let's be real. Let's be real here. There's Mike Money Murdoch out there.
It's true. It's difficult to say the least.
It's a strange world we're living in.
Because it's like you're shopping too. Yeah. Like as a person.
It's almost like you're getting married.
Yeah. Like
I'm gonna be stuck here.
You can look around, window shop. I like that. I don't like that. Let me go to the next place.
Some churches you go to, they're fundraising everywhere after service. Some churches, they don't even talk about nothing like that. Yeah. You give your offering and you're good.
That's true.
My grandfather loves his church because they never fundraise or ask for anything besides tithes.
So how? Okay, they just ask for tithes.
That's the first thing he loves about his church. They don't fundraise. There's no people walking around. My daughter's got Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah,
There's none of that.
Okay.
No fundraising. And the second thing he loves about it is his punctuality. They start on time and they finish on time.
Okay.
He loves it.
How long has he been going to that church?
For like 6 years.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah,
good.
loves that church. It's like what do we consider nowadays?
Yeah.
You know.
And it's hard because as a leader within a church, I understand the importance of being punctual, right? Because that's a whole, that's a demographic you can hit, because you start on time, you end on time, or close to it, and then you have people that love it or people that hate it,
Right.
And then as
people that love
and then as a leader though, you're trying to be like, man, we need to stick to a schedule, but then it can't be all organized, because you got, you want to let the Holy Spirit move, especially if God's really speaking or worship is really like God's doing something through it. I believe that happens, but I think people miss, I think they take advantage of it, or they'll be like, oh, the Spirit's moving us. Another song,
another 3 hours. Y'all ain't leaving till 5 o'clock.
For real. So,
bro.
But it's hard because you're like, I'm not going to structure and have control of the service because it's not mine. But then it's also like, but was everything needed at the same time? So it's so hard. I don't know. That's one thing I struggle with.
Yeah. It's a tough balance, boy. But churches lasting 4-hour services. Whoo! I don't know how many people will come back.
Yeah.
I'm missing lunch at that point.
It's it's something. But okay, what would you feel to find a church? We'll say the right church, meaning the right church for you. What would it have to have? Like, what can we give someone watching that maybe is not plugged in a church? What are some things that you think it needs to have? What are some things I think it needs to have? So maybe we can help them kind of narrow their options.
Well, I think the best thing you could have when looking for a church is like a transparent, Bible-loving, passionate about Jesus pastor.
Ding, ding, ding. Justin, can you put like a ding, 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 check one?
That is the best thing
animation
you could find when looking for a church. If you find a man that is passionate about Jesus, knows his Bible and loves the Bible, and you could get to know, you could actually like sit down and meet with him. Because a lot of pastors aren't even, I don't want to say nothing, but some of them, they're just like, you can't get a meeting with them.
But look, everything you say, I'm gonna agree, disagree, but I'm gonna give you a different perspective. All right?
Go ahead.
I agree 100%. I think that you need that. But then I think I'm going to give the different perspective, because then there's people though that, because you said you need to meet with your pastor, right?
Yes.
But then
you got to be personable.
Okay. Yes. But then what if you have such a big church? As a leader, are you really going to meet with 1,000+ people?
That's unrealistic. But
so see, like,
hold on. Now you gotta ask me deeper questions, which is, do I believe there should be 1,000-member churches?
Okay. Well, okay, you don't think so? I don't have a preference.
I think it should be like 500 and less.
Okay. What if you have a big church though, and you're able to use your leaders to share the heart of your church and what you stand for?
That's valid, but that is valid.
Okay.
However, I'm a practical individual.
Yeah.
Very pragmatic. You ever played the game in grammar school where there's about 20 students that line up and the teacher says something in the ear of one student and the student says some telephone.
Yeah.
By the time it gets down to the last person, is it ever the same message?
No. So you
can't. This is how I see practicality in one church setting. By the time things get out to people, and there's proof that this happens on a consistent basis, sometimes it's a bit diluted. And I'm not saying you could be more potent with less people. I'm just saying the probability of you being more
Yeah.
effective. Because what you want is quality,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
100%.
Like God told Gideon, get rid of 30,000 of them.
Yeah.
You need 300.
Bro, Gideon.
You want quality people at your church,
Mhm.
people that are ready to grow, just as passionate as your pastor is ready to
Yeah.
grow. So I think that's the most important thing for me. So 1,000-member
good.
church, I mean, let's be honest, whoever goes to 1,000-member church, they kind of get lost amongst the
They
crowd.
do. Yeah.
No matter if you have leaders meeting with them.
Yeah.
It's just a lot going on. Their
It
budget
is.
is millions of dollars. You're
Mhm.
just a
Yeah.
$5 bill in the bucket.
That's true. No, it is true. It is true. Okay, so
I don't want to be
a
harsh,
leader,
though.
a
I've never
leader.
run a church. I don't know what it's like.
No,
you
I
know.
mean, but you have ran a church.
No,
Yeah.
I have not, Frank.
Okay, but anyways, how you think that I agree with that first point though, the leader. What's the next thing you would give? Let's try to give at least 3 or 4 things.
Well, I love whenever I see diversity at a church,
Okay.
that is attractive to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's biblical, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's attractive to me.
Mhm.
If I see black folk and Hispanic
Yeah.
folk and white folk and Italian folk and just a group of people that all feel comfortable in the same room, that tells me I can be comfortable in that room.
I
too.
agree just because when you also have the same ethnicity or the same type of people in a church, sometimes it's like this is us, this is how
Yeah.
we do it, and that's not what you want. The church is a welcoming, inclusive,
Right.
so it's like
I also
you
feel
gotta
like if a
avoid that.
church looks like that, you're
Mhm.
kind of building the church a little bit. It could be a Jesus Bible-based church, but you're building a little bit of the church like around a certain culture.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but if you're building it just off of
Mhm.
biblical principles, you're gonna do your best to be,
Yeah.
you're
everyone.
gonna attract diversity.
So diversity. So first is a leader that is open, transparent, you can trust. Second is diversity.
Parking.
Parking.
Can we be real? Can we be real?
I've been to churches with no parking and you gotta circle the block.
If your church has trouble with parking, you know how much faith I have to find a parking space before arriving at church?
No, that's true.
Whew.
You need parking.
No,
I would agree.
I could have said a better reason, but that is a big one for me.
Okay.
Parking. If a church has got parking, that gives me all the most incentive to go.
What's next? That's good. You got a good list here. Parking.
No, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I've been going through a list.
Uh-huh.
Is it wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking out for my single people. You don't even think about this.
I don't.
Is it wrong for a male to go to a church
Mm-hmm.
because he likes it and because there's a lot of women there his age?
I don't know. I don't think
you have an answer, huh?
I do have an answer.
You do have an answer? Okay.
I don't think it's wrong because we talk about it a lot, right? Your surroundings have an influence on you.
Right.
So if you can be going to the club because of the girls, but you're going to church because
you're
of the girls.
Church. God is leading you there, baby. Zoom in on me, Justin. Zoom in on me. Listen, if you want to go to a church, number one, because you're following Jesus, but number two, you see a good group of potential candidates. Go. Okay, go. Run to that church.
I second that.
Listen,
go, run.
Especially if you're trying to do things the right way.
Yeah.
Go.
Why not? What's wrong with
that?
Don't let people shame you for doing
that.
No.
Go. Yep.
Go. Now be careful what you do, right? But go.
I said do things the right way.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do things the right way, go.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you think the church needs to have a Bible study or a small group? Or do you think going to your Sunday service is enough?
Of course it needs a small group of Bible study. Heavens, yes.
You think that's important?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this is just an opinion of mine, but it is biblical. I mean, the biggest reason for the church is so that all of us people in the matrix, when we go out into this artificial world that's against us, we feel at home.
Yeah.
It's kind of like letting your hair down. You're at home, you just, you get to take your hat off, take your shoes off, and you no longer feel like people around you. Yeah, exactly. You no longer feel like people around you are possibly out to get you or make you uncomfortable or put you in a position where you have to choose. Dang, do I have to serve God or do I have, you're at church. You're
Yeah.
good now. You know, so that's what you want to feel.
Yeah.
What was your question?
Let me add this in. So that means what George is saying is that if you're a Christian, you don't need to work at a church or be a pastor or
No.
be in a missions. You can work an ordinary job, but just be the light of the world. That's
You can.
That's so important.
Yeah.
All right. No, I said a Bible study. All right. What else does the church have to have? I feel for
A
me,
basketball court. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like for me, the worship has to really be like spirit and
Angelic.
truth. Yeah, like
Yeah.
no, for real. I mean, I don't want you up there because you sing nice, or I don't want you up there because you play good, or I don't want you up there because you look good. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've been to, like I said, I serve at a church and I'm a part of a church, but I do go visit other churches occasionally, like if we don't have service, a holiday. And I see people sometimes up there and it's like, I didn't feel much. I felt like it was American Idol. That platform in American
I
Idol.
felt like it was American Idol.
So I don't know.
You
I
just
think
go
that's
in,
so
I think.
important. Come on, you know, George. We had an experience. I'm not gonna put people on blast, bro. We had an experience.
Listen, why are all these worship leaders'
did-
pants so tight?
did
That's all I
we-
want to know.
Do you remember that? We had an event, and the worship team was fighting. Come on, you remember that, George?
At
Remember?
college?
No, yeah, during college we had an event. We hosted our first ever event together, and we had hired worship groups, 2 or 3 different ones, and they were like fighting.
They were fighting.
We're like, what is going on?
I almost
So-
forgot about
yeah.
that. Your memory is so sharp.
So
I almost forgot
that's
about
why-
the
that's why
whole
it's a
event.
Sharp podcast, baby. Yeah, so I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people don't get along.
Yeah.
It is what it
No,
is.
I mean-
you got to step outside the church and throw hands. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
I think the other thing though is you have to have a church community. What I mean is like when you go to church, after church, it's not like let's just leave. You gotta have some friends. You gotta have
That's
some.
me.
You gotta have some.
Oh God.
You gotta have
No,
some,
Frank.
You gotta have some chit chat. You
You
gotta
got
know,
to chit chat
you gotta
after
know-
church.
Yeah, you gotta know how the brother in the second row is doing with his family. Or
We
something.
talked to him when you guys told us after the tithe. Get up and say hi to your neighbor. And I said
No,
hi, and I
for
asked him
me-
how he was doing.
For me, it has to be a community of people you're doing life with.
After doing life with,
Yeah.
nobody want to do life with me.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, okay?
They do.
Nobody want to do life with me.
I think that's so important.
Okay, like the Book of Acts church.
Uh-huh.
I'm so impressed when I read the Book of Acts.
Me
Listen,
too.
they were doing life together.
They
boy.
were.
They were selling their cribs,
They
their
were.
cars. They were telling your kid, take that kid out of private school. Give that money to the church.
Yeah.
They were feeding each other. You struggling? You struggling?
Mhm.
Stay in my crib.
Yeah.
Can't nobody stay here? I got a small, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
No, it's impressive.
we got to do life with people.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talking, right? I don't even know what
Yeah.
that looks like
I don't either.
today.
I don't either.
Do life,
It's hard.
borrow you money and say, don't even worry about it.
I know.
What does that look
Yeah.
like? Take care of your babysit your kids for free?
It's just
Whew.
hard because I get where it comes from, but people have become so evil and taking advantage of it. So it's like you're the bad guy either way. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like taking care. Okay, like if you need money, right, or the church, you need help. I have no problem helping someone out, but you better be needing help. Like you're not lazy sitting playing video games, eating hot Cheetos. You know what I'm saying? Like I got no problem. You need a place to stay? I'll give you my
Yeah.
guest room. I'll adjust my life for a week or something to help you out. But you better not be kicked out because you cheated on your girl or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it better
like
be
come
legit.
on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I agree. I don't know what that looks like now because people are just lazy now. People are corrupt now.
We're definitely more on guard
Yeah.
and cautious, you know.
Like
but,
if
you know.
I had a church and someone came to me and said, I really need help financially, I'm not cutting you a check. We're going to have a meeting and I want to know a little bit about what's going on and then I'm going to have to pray about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So I got a follow-up
Yeah.
question. We're going deep
Uh-huh.
into this video.
Yeah.
But okay, so is the problem when it comes to doing life together in the church. Is the problem that we are on guard and cautious because we live like kind of in a society where people are untrustworthy? Or is the problem that we have not gotten to know our church well? Therefore, we are on guard because we don't know them well.
I think we haven't
don't
gotten
trust
to
them.
know them well.
That's gotta be
Because
it.
that's got to be it. Because then when you know someone well, then you can know,
Right.
should I be on guard?
I came up with that question because I thought, okay, well, Frank and I, we're a part of the church.
Yeah.
We don't go to the same church,
Yeah.
but we're a part of the church. But if you ever ask me for anything, you know I got you.
Yeah.
If you need to
Same
stay
here,
here, unfortunately, I don't have space for you and your
Sleep
family.
right on this rug.
Yeah. But you know I
I'll make
got you.
space.
Yeah. But that's because I know you.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
right?
No, I
and I
agree.
know vice versa.
Yeah,
you know
no,
me.
That's true.
So man, but that's
so
exactly
true.
that's exactly where I'm coming from when I say these churches can't be humongous.
Yeah.
You know, because people's personalities, people's emotions, people's thoughts, they get lost in that room.
Well, here's a good example of what you just said too. You know, when we were in Bible college, we had me and my roommate, we had a neighbor right across the hall. I don't know if you remember, but he would always eat peanut butter and stuff. He started off super well, and then he ended a whole 180. But anyways, when he would need things, we would try to help him out, right, at first. But then as we got to know him, then we understood we needed to put up a guard because he was just he was just lazy. He was just wanting to do what he wanted to do and expecting others to help him
pick up the slack.
And that's why you need to know. So that way you need to know your church community, because then you're going to know, do I need to be on guard? You know, like you're not going to open your home. You have a wife and kids. You're not going to open your home to someone. Like, I mean, that's just common sense. You got to also be a protector of your house, lead your family. So.
So you can still follow God and do life with people at church and be cautious.
Yeah, you can.
You can do all those things at the same time.
Yeah, you can.
And let me not use the word caution. Be wise.
Be wise, yep.
You know, if a homeless person, I feel like if you gave them the opportunity to stay over your house, they would take it.
Yeah.
I got to get to know you, dog.
Yeah.
Listen, I know you've been on the street for a while.
Yeah.
Let me get to know you. Let me come see you every other day for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
You know, let's shower you up, see what's going on. Yeah. Now, I don't know how realistic these things are, but we know that now that we're talking, I didn't even know this before we started the video. The key to doing life with people in church is relationship.
It is.
Like, I have to do a better job of staying after service at church, talking to people.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think it doesn't matter to you if you go to a church and you like everything about it, but they're like not really advancing?
Advancing how?
Like, okay, can you be at a church where they're just constantly doing the same thing, or where you have another church where it's like, okay, this year we're really trying to do this and we want to either raise money, or we want to send missions out, like or we want a new project or a new initiative?
Are you trying to say is it hard to be in a church that doesn't have a vision?
Yeah.
Well, of course that's going to be hard. I mean, if you're amongst a group of people.
But do you feel like if you were at a church that lacked vision, but you loved everyone around it, would you stay? Or would you?
I would stay and do my best with respect and with wisdom to try to fill that gap.
Okay.
So if there was no vision, I would try
solve the problem yourself as best as you can.
Yeah,
not like you, but like
but
like have.
That's exactly you're right.
Yeah,
I try to be helpful in where they're lacking. So if they lack vision, I would try to be helpful in the area. Yo, I've been serving here. I think we could. I think we could produce our effectiveness, in this way.
And what happen? What do you think will happen if you do that and then they don't really move?
And we try again.
And what happens if it doesn't work again?
Then I gotta pray and be like, God, I don't know, this is the spot for me.
Okay, I'm asking because not only how do we find the right church, but what if you're in a church? Because people are in a church, right? And sometimes they're like, maybe it's time for me to leave. And I think it's important. I don't know. For me, like when you leave a church, I think it's two things. And maybe the two things become one. I think one, God is going to tell you that it's time to go. Or two, in your situation, you're going to have a vision and bring it to leadership. And if leadership doesn't act on it, I mean, you're going to feel like, man, God is calling me to it. And I need to go somewhere where I can fill this call, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the reason I say that is because I think there's people that are like, should I leave this church, right?
Right.
But are you leaving because you just want to receive somewhere else? Or are you leaving because there's something God is really putting on your heart to do and you can't really do it to the capacity he's calling you
In that church.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense to me. I mean, what would the other two alternatives be?
Yeah.
I can't think of nothing else.
No, me neither. All right. So that's good. That's helpful. Any last things we should add? I mean, this conversation could be hours.
Boy, there's a lot of weird churches out there.
Yeah. But I think it's important. I guess my sharp tip will bring to an end here is start looking. You got to start. If you're not going to church, you cannot stay at home. You need to start looking.
Right.
And just pray. But start looking. I do think there's churches that are a better fit for people. I don't think you should just go because there's a lot of bad that can happen in a church, like manipulation. But find the right place, but you need to find it.
I suggest the same thing. Find a church. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not really like about the word church.
Yeah.
It's about these people. You got to be around people who believe the same thing.
Yeah. Who
love the same way. I mean, just look around you. Like everybody in the world is taking that principle and doing it. The LGBT community, they get together every chance they get. They have a protest, a rally, a festival. I mean, if you love bicycles, all these people with bicycles are riding bikes by the hundreds. I mean, whatever is your cause, the world is taking it by storm.
Yeah.
People who love Fabuloso are making a group chat right now on Facebook. People who love Fabuloso, we're getting together at Target at this time. Like, bro, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How everybody else in the world could get together in droves for a cause. And sometimes we fail to do that as Christians.
That's true.
You know, so that's the point of going to church.
Yeah.
Is so that you go to a place where you feel you're being productive, where you feel you're being loved, where you feel like you have purpose.
And don't be that Christian that doesn't go to your church service, but you go to that Fabuloso meetup.
I gotta meet up with the what is that game? Call of Duty Operations Group. Come on. Yeah. Don't meet up with that Call of Duty Operations Group. Go to church.
Have your priorities straight.
Your coffee group. Jesus.
But yeah.
Well,
it was a pleasure being here. We hope you can find a church. Reach out if you have any questions. Maybe we can help you. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Take care.
Yeah. Brush your teeth.
Peace.